Welcome everyone to the 7th round of the UZchess Cup 2025 in Tashkent. We have Jan Nepomnichtchi on our screen. He's yet to win a single game in this tournament. He started off with a loss and then has had 5 draws and will be hoping to score his first win today. Opposite him is Praggnanandhaa, who's been having quite the event here. 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. So, very fighting chess. And Jan has the white pieces. He starts the clock and opens the game with 1 e4. Prag in this tournament has had this habit of coming 30 seconds to a minute late. And there you see he's there 30 seconds late to the game. He has his banana with him, a water bottle. I think this is a very exciting clash because Jan is one of the best classical players in the world of chess for years now. He's won 2 candidates, while Prag is clearly shaping up to be the player of the year in 2025. Of course, the last couple of rounds have not gone his way. He lost to Maksudlu as well as Richard Rapport. But I believe that doesn't change the way Prag has played this year, and this might be a very crucial game for him. He pushes his pawn to e5 and Jan brings his knight out to f3. Knight goes to c6 and the bishop comes out to b5. We have the Ruy Lopez on the board and Praggnanandhaa gets up, maybe for a bottle of water here. Always nice to see the organizers making all the arrangements for the players. a6 played by Prag, and Jan of course has an option to go for the exchange variation, which most likely won't happen. At the top level they mostly play bishop a4. Yes, that is exactly what has been done. Bishop comes back to a4 and Prag brings his knight out to f6. We're going into the main line territory of the Ruy Lopez, and when it comes to this, I would say there are very few people as experienced as Jan. Bishop c5 played. Wow. Okay. The Arcangelsk c3 by Jan. He's going for d4 break. b5, pushing the bishop away. You can put your bishop on b3 as well as c2. Most likely b3 is the more natural one on this long diagonal. And now Prag pushes his pawn to d6. This is a very interesting line, d4, where black is trying to be a little bit more aggressive than putting his bishop here on e7 generally. a4 played. And now the main move is rook b8. There's also bishop b7 and bishop g4, but Prag goes for a move that has been played in very few games, bishop d7. Which is why you can see Jan Nepomnichtchi already in his thinking mode and plays his bishop to g5. This might be still his preparation, although he thought for a few minutes for this move. And Prag also tries to recollect his analysis and now goes rook to b8. Essentially, Prag is happy that Jan has gone into this bishop g5 line and now is ready to go rook b8. Bishop on d7 according to him is not so poorly placed. Well, we'll see, because bishop b7 is nicely placed often. Bishop on g4 is more active. What is the bishop doing on d7 is a good question. But then the question also is whether this pin is useful. Can we just kick it away with h6 g5? Because black hasn't castled yet. Could free-flowingly push the pawns. By the way, an attack on this pawn? Not really. Because if you take, I have a discovered attack here. So h6 played here by Praggnanandhaa. Jan comes back and plays his bishop back to h4. And now Pragg pushes his pawn to g5, gaining space on the king side. The bishop comes back to g3. The pressure on the e5 pawn mounts. Knight h5 played. Very interesting. If you try to win material here, I'll first take on g3 and then take this back. So he goes knight a3. He's trying to attack the b5 pawn. And Pragg castles here. Wow. Pragg is saying that my king on g8 looks risky but is much safer than the king on e8, because on e8 it could really come under a lot of attack and a lot of fire. For Jan, now taking this pawn makes sense. He's pawn up. Now the bishop on d7 does come in handy, but how do you take advantage of that? Is there any particular way? Pragg goes knight e7. He unleashes an attack here. He may want to take and then play bishop d4 when the queen is attacked. So bishop comes out to c4 defending here. But on the other hand, the knight can go to g6 and then come to the f4 square. And that's exactly what Pragg does. Pragg is like, I'm happy with this one pawn that I have invested in order to launch an attack on your king. D takes e5, taken here. And now if you take back, then of course there is bishop e5 or knight takes e5, then attacking here. So maybe first you need to capture. Knight takes g3. There's a pin here. You have to notice this. All these features are very, very common in the Arcangelsk variation. And now not knight takes because you can take, but first g4, another classy move. Knight has to go to d4 and Pragg can take knight takes e5. Does it? Knight takes e5 played. The queen has to protect the bishop, so queen e2, and also looking here. And Pragg makes this excellent move h5. Black is already pushing here in spite of being a pawn down. King g7, rook h8, the attack here, h4 coming in, the queen looking here, knight beautifully placed, bishop looking in this diagonal. Lot of trouble for Jan Nepomnichtchi. And maybe it's already time to push h4. I'm sure that Jan is not feeling very comfortable. h4 on the board. Praggnanandhaa attacking with all his pawns here. This is looking super exciting. Queen e3. Jan makes a nice move in this direction. If you take hg3, he wants to maybe take with the queen, but also get in with his queen here. King g7 played by Pragg, stopping queen h6. An excellent move. Preparing rook h8. Bishop comes back to e2. Saving the bishop and maybe making square for this knight on a3, which is not in the game. Rook h8 is on the board. Beautiful. And the knight goes to c4, attacking the bishop on b6. And I don't think you want to give up this bishop. So taking here makes all the sense. So takes, and after bishop takes, there's this very nice move. Rook h5, queen e7, rook h8. And it's a very nice position. Now rook h5. The main thing here is to play queen e7 or rook h5. Queen f6 also looks good. But the problem is white can come queen f4 offering a trade. Which is where I think Pragg seems to have made this small inaccuracy. And Jan doesn't let it go. He goes queen f4. A fantastic move. And already, like let's say for example here, I can take with a check and f7 is falling. So rook h6 played by Praggnanandhaa. Trying to double still, but imagine the power of this position if the queens were still on the board. And Pragg now has to play this endgame where he's a pawn down. He still has excellent compensation, but it's not enough to push for a win. But maybe during the game, Pragg never really felt he was pushing so much, so he just decided to trade off the queens. Rook takes h4. And now a beautiful move by Jan. I think one of the things that players of Jan Nepomniachtchi's caliber do incredibly well is neutralizing opponent's pressure. The moment they see like this is the way in which I can neutralize it, king g2, and now rook h8, which is very powerful, could lead to a mate, is met with this very strong move, rook h1. Once this is played, I believe that there is no chance for Pragg to play for the full point. Takes, rook takes, king takes, and king e5. He takes on f7. And now bishop takes d4, pawn takes. You have to be slightly careful as white. You are still a pawn up, but this could become weak. For example, if you go bishop g6 trying to go here, bishop c6, and already black is winning. So king g2 is a safe move, king e4 giving up, and now check. It does feel like Praggnanandha's central pawns look very dangerous, but I believe Jan has enough. For example, g4, f4, check, g takes f3, king takes f3, and now this g pawn is tremendously strong. And although black has these nice central pawns here, c5 shouldn't be enough, king e3, d5. Look at Pragg's focus there. He does feel it that he could win here. Bishop e6. And bishop comes back. We have a check. Slowly and steadily the white pieces are being pushed back. King d2, c4, and he brings his bishop here, taking into control the e4 square. King d6. Pragg is coming this way with his king. Bishop f3. The king comes up, bishop d1, king c1, and now the king enters king b4. Again, this bishop is doing a great job taking into control the square, and Pragg wants to perhaps trade the bishops, but it's not safe actually. If you trade here, I take, I also have this g pawn which could become potentially very dangerous, so maybe better not to do it. Bishop f7, king d2, bg6, and Jan has this small little smile on his face, takes, and now, okay, if you take here, there's nothing, so king takes, and if you get d3, d2, that would be just incredible, but Jan is very quick to stop d3 with bishop e2, and that kind of ends all the fun. Bishop takes d3, bishop takes, king takes d3, the arbiter's there, ready to draw the game, and Jan is like, he still has a pawn and wants to play on king b2, bishop f5, G4 played. He takes, and now it's a draw. No material left on the board. A very, very nice game. In fact, a very theoretically relevant game, I must say. And you can see how quickly Praggnanandhaa is keen on discussing and learning, and Nepo also speaking about his thoughts. But if Prag had gone for this idea with rook h5, queen e7, rook h8 in that game instead of queen f6, he would have gotten a huge kingside attack, and that could have meant quite a lot. But the way it panned out, queen f6 was a small inaccuracy, allowing the queen trade, and after that Jan Nepomnichtchi was very, very clinical in his defense. He didn't sweat even one bit. I mean, any slightly lesser player would have definitely come under pressure with Prag's endgame play, but not Jan. And an interesting game comes to an end for both Prag and Jan. This tournament hasn't really gone that well, but with 2 rounds to go, they will try their best. While look at them, both of them looking at the game of Madaminov versus Andrew Hong. And that is the end of 7th round. Prag is on 50% score. Jan is on 3 out of 7. See you all. Thank you for watching this game.